Bonjour and hello everyone. Welcome to Queer French Farmhouse, the podcast about being queer as an expat living in France and renovating a house, or in my case, half a chateau. Welcome back to another episode of Queer French Farmhouse. I thought today I'm gonna take you on a little walk. I'm on a walk with my dog Anita, and we're doing an afternoon round. We're walking around the lake that is right on the end of my street, which is so beautiful. And it's quite a warm day, and I hope you can all hear me well, because I'm recording this on my phone this time. I just started recording actually, and then somebody just crossed my path, and I was like, okay, that's kind of weird, like talking to my phone like this. So let's see if we can do the first half walking and if it's going to be understandable or not. So today I thought we would speak about queer love in France and queer love in the French rural area like I am living in. So France has legalized gay marriage way before, like, for example, Germany. I think Germany did it in 2018. I think France was even faster than that. I will have to, check the facts again. But generally, I think it was 2016, if I'm not mistaken. So it's been longer than Germany. And I think other countries, I mean, some countries don't have legal gay marriage. So, yeah. And I think in big cities, usually, it's quite common, and you can feel quite safe in France, just like in Germany. I mean, there will always be idiots. I've had enough of those experiences in Germany, but in rural areas, it's a bit of a different thing. And I do think that everywhere, around the world, rural areas are a bit more problematic for queer people, or they seem more problematic. To my surprise, actually, people surrounding me in this area here have been very open-minded, have been very welcoming, and yeah, I think I did tell in my introduction when I started the podcast that somebody saw my boyfriend and me kissing outside the village, in another village, on one of the streets, and then rumors were going around and that he was kissing another man and things like this, and because people weren't sure about his sexuality, and so yeah, things got, and then but people were very accepting, and then kind of made it all clear, and we said yes, we're together and we love each other, and yeah, people were really accepting, I think, and people really do mind their own business here, I have to say, rather than actually usually people are very nosy, and yes, I mean, rumors travel like a fire here. I mean, we are, after all, in a rural area where there's gossip and there's talk and everything. And I think you will also have that in a city, but in a different kind of way, maybe more amongst friends or friendly groups. Here, well, I would say you're kind of forced to stay with the people, or you're kind of forced in with this bunch of people, which is actually not so bad, I have to say. I was quite surprised, and actually then we just attended our first evening at the local bar together, which was quite the thing. It's I felt very odd, and I felt like people might be judging me, especially me, because I'm not French. I just came here, I'm the only person who's non-British as well in this context, in this area, in my little village. I mean, there's Belgian people, but they're moving out. But there's no one German, certainly no one Polish, and so I think I already stuck out there. So I was a bit reluctant about going, actually, and I was quite anxious getting into that setting, and especially because also I'm vegan, so it was an evening of mussels and fries. So I attended that evening at the end, after dinner was served, because I eat the fries, but I do not eat the mussels. So I had dinner at home and then went over to the bar. And yeah, I have to say I was quite, very anxious and nervous getting into that, because I was the last one arriving, and I have a bit of social anxiety. And you would not think that of me, but I think if I'm surrounded by an unfamiliar kind of situation and I can't really define it for myself, I get very anxious and very scared what people might do even, or what people might say, or if people might make fun. And I do know that it's all ego related, and I do think that we can all relate to it somehow. It feels a bit like your first day at school all over again. So yeah, oh well. So I went in there, did it, and I was greeted warmly. And actually, I spent a really lovely evening. I mean, drinking a tad too much in the end, but I mean, I don't know. I felt like really people weren't judging. People were quite normal about it, and it actually makes me sad to say people were normal about it, because it is normal and it is nothing out of the ordinary to live your sexuality. But in that context, you're always a bit on edge. You never know for sure how people might react, But we were there, we were cuddling, we were not fully making out, I mean, sure. But it felt like it was a safe space. And that's what I found really astonishing. I'm not sure if I would feel as safe, in a rural context in Germany. And so I think I was taken quite by surprise at how lovingly people are. And I think it's also got to do with if people kind of know you, or I think we also have this bonus that my boyfriend helps everyone in the village. He's the loveliest person. He does everything for everyone. So I think he has a very high status, and people think very highly of him. So I think that's also changes all our situation, us two being together, and people respect him, And I'm asking myself how it would be if people weren't so respectful towards him or us. If that would kind of change the whole perspective on our relationship and on our sexuality. And so that's kind of the first part that kind of triggered this episode that I wanted to talk about. And I think it's getting really windy here outside, and I think I want to take it inside and give you some more facts actually that I can research and tell you about. And then I'll see you straight after my little break, and we'll continue this podcast inside. Before we go on inside, I would like to remind you that my B&B is open for booking. So if you're ever close to France, or you want to spend a few days or a week in France, or just discover the Southwest, you're very welcome to come and stay with me. You'll find all my details in the show notes, and you can book, and you can find me on Airbnb, on Veg Visits, and Mr. B&B. My prices range from 50 to about 120 euros a night. That includes like 2 people and food. So if you'd like to consider that, check out my website, and you'll find all the booking links there, and you'll also find all the retreats there that I'll be giving. There will be some in English, some in German. So have a look at that, and thank you very much for listening that much. So we're back inside. That was getting quite windy, wasn't it? I actually did a bit of research because I said I didn't know when same-sex marriage was legalized in France, and it's been legal since the 18th of May 2013. It was the 13th country worldwide to allow same-sex couples to marry. And it is a big thing. And I think like back then there was even a referendum to go against it, or people wanting to like revoke those rights and protect I say the family, like the right wing always puts it. But we're not taking away anything from any family. It's just that we get basic human rights. And I think since we're all humans, we should be considered that as well. So but enough politics. So let's go back to actually like how it is to be queer in this rural context or in a more rural area here in France. And I told you one example that just recently happened to me, and I was very positively surprised. And actually, like following that, we had an invitation for dinner at someone's place, a French lady who's very, very lovely, and there were like 2 other French ladies there and the owner of the bar, and so all women, some of them also supporting right-wing ideas. I mean, you have to understand that we're in a very like countryside rural area where people do vote a lot of right-wing, but that doesn't mean their place is their heart is in a wrong place. And it might be hard to understand this ambiguity, but and it was really hard for me in the beginning to understand this, moving from a city where like people were either liberal or very kind of left-wing, because you see problems differently. And I say this quote unquote people think they're educated, or they are educated a bit more. I'm always kind of reluctant to say this because I don't want to sound like a prick, because I do find there's like education, and I do find that it's much more important to be emotionally intelligent than intelligent, because that is the intelligence that we need to interact with one another and to actually be emotionally mature, because you can be very immature person even though intellectually you know a lot of things and you're very intelligent, but it doesn't make you intelligent in a social context, and it doesn't make you put this intelligence into use basically because of it. So, well, that's my 5 pence on it, and probably everybody thinks differently about it, and this is absolutely fair and absolutely alright. So I think there's like this ambiguity of all these really nice people and actually like voting right wing, but I think they are a bit easier to be persuaded because there's more problems here. There's more other like crucial problems, I would say, than in the city. In the countryside, it's more about survival, I would say, without sounding too harsh or without sounding too much like, oh, it's us people living in the countryside, it's all about survival, because no, it's not. But I think people really do kind of have other standards of life. Also considering that Charente is one of the poorest areas of the country, so there's people who don't have a lot of money that live here. So I think I think it's also really easy to blame then other people for that. So yeah, that's my like short excursion into trying to explain like political movements here. But yeah, going back to that evening, it was just really nice and was just really. I wasn't like reluctant or I wasn't scared that being a couple and them knowing us being a couple would be strange, but then again it's like you never know. And but they were also lovely, and it was also like, and there again I am saying it was also normal, because sometimes I'm astonished by it because I don't expect that. I didn't expect that from people. And also like going to, for example, we've been to Angoulême, my boyfriend and me. So just for you a little backstory, Angoulême is the main or it's the capital of Charente. So France is divided, like I said once already, in different departments. They're similar to states in the United States, but they, since France is a centralized country, they don't act as independently as states would or states in Germany would. So the capital of the Département de la Charente is where I live, is Angoulême. Angoulême is a beautiful city. It's the city of comics, actually, because it's where the inventor of Asterix et Obelix is from. And there's a big comic museum, there's a big comic convention every year in Angoulême. And it's just like a really beautiful city right by the Charente. Charente is also a river. Most departments are named by the rivers, by the main rivers flowing through them. So it's right by the river and it's set on a hill, and the old town is all there, and it's just such a gorgeous city. So beautiful to walk through. It has like this really light white limestone buildings everywhere with beautiful carvings, and just like, if you ever get to see it, or if you ever get to like go there, go visit Angoulême, then you should definitely do that. It's 2.5 hours by train from Paris. Do not take the car. Driving in Angoulême is horrible, and if you can avoid it, do that. And I'm speaking from a lot of experience here. I do go to Angoulême almost weekly with the car because you can just like get a lot of stuff there, like grocery wise, and especially vegan options and tofus and things like this. So yeah, but going back to the main topic of this podcast is that we can stroll. Like, I never felt like we couldn't stroll through Angoulême or go to places and not be afraid, you know? It's like I never felt like I couldn't like touch my boyfriend's hand, or I couldn't like just like go through his hair or like touch him in public, you know? Like just like hold his hand, hold his arm, you know? Which, yeah, is also like a bit like people are, I think by far you don't see many same-sex couples on the streets, I would say, but you do not get any sign of hatred. Maybe also like, and that's another thing, that's another factor that probably changes a lot, is because we speak a combination of English and French with one another. So it's like, my French isn't amazing. I mean, I'm really trying, and I can speak French. I can have a conversation with someone, but yeah, I resort to English because English, I'm just like, it's the language I'm very comfortable in, just like German. So yeah, so we speak like a mixture of like English and French, or sometimes just English. So I think it's also like that we might be mistaken for tourists. Mistaken for tourists sounds so pretentious, but no, like because people think we're tourists, you know. Then they're like, oh, the tourists, you know, the gay couple tourist. I don't know. Maybe that's also counts in, you know, if you kind of like people see you with different eyes because it's like we're not one of them. I don't know if it makes sense, but that's just a thought that just popped into my mind. So as a conclusion, I can say that France has been very welcoming and very open. I mean, I've also worked in Paris, and I've never like encountered hatred in Paris. Which I guess also depends on it always depends on the context and the areas you're moving around as well, anywhere in the world. I mean, take anything, take being a woman, it's just I think the context always changes, in whichever context you put yourself in, it's in which areas you go, how you behave, all these kinds of things. Yes, truly, I will totally agree that it's problematic anywhere, and that we do need to still a lot of stuff to change. But all in all, I have to say I feel very welcome and very good here in rural France. And I would only recommend for anyone wanting or considering to move here or considering to do their vacation here as a queer couple that you'll probably encounter close to no problems. And especially at my place. Haha. Okay, I'll stop doing the advertisement for my place, and I'm letting you go into the weekend or into your day, wherever you're listening. Thank you very much for listening. Follow the podcast. That will help me a lot. Spread the word about the podcast as well. It also helps me. And don't miss my YouTube channel, for example. My YouTube channel, I air Thursday night and Sunday midday. Thursday is a German video, and Sunday is an American is an English video. Yeah. It's a mini series, the English videos, and they're called Château Summer Vacation, and it's a bit about all the things that you can do. It's a bit more daily vlog, more personal, so check it out. And if you like it, then subscribe to my channel and leave a like, and you'll also find more of me on Instagram, where you can find me as Demi_Château. And thank you very much for listening again, and stay healthy and beautiful, and I will talk to you next week again. Until then, I say bisous de la Sud-Ouest, and à bientôt et au revoir.